I find the retail situations are always the most sticky one, the stickiest ones to be in. And what I mean by that is sometimes it's not always coming from coworkers or management too. Sometimes it could be just a random customer, like you said. This one time I worked in a retail establishment, and I remember there was this little old lady, and she goes, I usually ask for students to rent my basement to. And she goes, I've done so much for all of these students. They're all international. And then she goes on to say, like, she uses the term Negro and Paki when referring to them. And she goes, one time she referred to them as this, and she was like, I provide food for them and shelter, and I treat them so well. And they got really offended. And so she approached me in the store randomly. And she goes, and I'm guessing she wanted validation. She just seen the color of my skin, and she's like, oh, maybe that person would understand. And she goes, do you find that offensive? You know, like I do so much for them, and I don't understand why they're so unappreciative, and they're so, I guess, a little bit hostile towards me when I refer to them as that. And she's like, I don't know what else to call them. And I was just kind of flabbergasted. I didn't know what to say in that moment. And I paused for a second, and then I go, well, you know, like I would be really offended if you use that term, and like, I'm renting from you. I'm paying you to be here. I'm not asking for care and all of these things so that you can refer to me as to whatever you want. And then I did talk to another coworker about it because, you know, she kept following me around the store with more and more stories. And I go, you know, I don't really want to deal with this right now. It was really awkward. And, but it kind of put me in a sort of a compromising situation because I didn't want management to feel that as if I was trying to avoid this particular customer, or I was offended, but at the same time, I still had to complete my job, and there was really no empathy coming from them, right? They just see it as a lost sale no matter what. So I don't know what exactly those situations, like what's the best way to handle them. I find though that maybe it's always best if you can include somebody else in the conversation, because the last thing that you want is something that you said or the way that you reacted. Somebody thinks that you're overreacted or you weren't justified to react in that way. And I've learned that in a few other workplaces as well. I found myself in another situation at a corporate company, and basically I was told to sit in the corner and nobody needed to hear from me. By one of my managers who showed up late to a meeting. And so her manager just kind of asked me like, hey, while we're waiting, you were working on this project, do you mind just kind of taking over and getting the meeting started while we're waiting for her? And she came in and she goes, why are you sitting in the middle of the room? Like nobody asked you to be there. You can sit in the corner and take your notes like you're supposed to be, but basically get off the screen is what she was saying. And I was just appalled. And in that situation, like, other than the other manager that was there, he kind of said nothing and he just went quiet. I didn't have anybody else to witness that situation. So when I did decide to finally like file a report and say, okay, maybe I want to get this dealt with, like I felt really unsafe and really kind of, well, I'm not sure what it was that really got her, whether she was kind of like power tripping or just like, oh, this young person and their color, they shouldn't be doing my job because I've been here for 20 years. That's the kind of feeling I got from it. But the lesson that was learned was what she did was I scheduled an HR meeting, and she actually showed up to the HR meeting. And she goes, I'm not going to allow you to file a report against me. And at that point in time, I realized, wow, I don't have any other witnesses other than her manager. And he would have spoken up if, you know what I mean, if he felt, I guess, empowered to do so, or if he felt that she was kind of behaving inappropriately. I have no idea, but I do find that would be my number one advice if you ever feel unsafe or threatened or discriminated against. If you have somebody there to witness it, or even right after, if you can go and speak to somebody and have them document word for word what happens, sometimes that can help sort of mediate the situation in the end. So.
Mm-hmm.